In this video, we are going over a process of how to find a standard deviation or variance of frequency distribution table. For example, let's take a look at this following table that represents the time taken to review articles that were submitted for publications to a particular journal during a recent year. A few articles took longer than 6 months to review, and these are omitted from the table. Now consider the data to be a population. Is not sample, it is population. So we have the first column to be the time in months. For example, from 3 months to 3.9 months, we have 20 articles. From 5 months to 5.9 months, we have 15 articles, and so on. So how do I find the variance or the standard deviation, which is the square root of the variance? The first thing is we need to be able to find the mean value of this rubric data. So in order to find the mean, the very first step, we need to figure out what should be the midpoint. So we are looking to find the mean of this frequency table, and the first step is we need to find the midpoint of this table. The midpoint is found by taking this lower class 0.0 add to 1.0 and then divide it by 2 to give me the first midpoint. So that is gonna be 0.5 is the first midpoint of the first class here. And then in order to find the next midpoint, we are going to take 1 add to 2. 1 add to 2 give me 3. 3 divided by 2 give me 1.5 for this second one. So we see that the difference between 0.5 and 1.5 is 1 unit. So keep adding 1 to 1.5 give me 2.5, and then keep adding 1 to 2.5 give me 3.5, and we keep adding 1 all the way until the last row. So this is 4.5, and then add one more 1 unit, that is going to be 5.5. So after we have the midpoint, the next step is we are going to find these products of the midpoint and the frequency. The number of the article, this is also called a frequency. Okay. Now we are going to find the midpoint, the product, the midpoint, and the frequency. Multiply them together. Okay, so we take 44, we multiply to 0.5. That's gonna give me 22. And we take 16, multiply to 1.5. That's gonna give me 24. And I keep multiply them all the way down to the last row. I'm going to get 45 here, 70 here, 54 here, and then 15 multiply 5.5 give me 82.5. And in order to find the mean, we are going to take the summation of all of the value here. So 20, this is the summation notation. 22 plus 24 plus 45 all the way to 82.1. That is going to give me 297.5. That is the summations. And then we also need to find the summation of the frequency. So 44 at 16 at 18 at 20 at 12 at 15. That's gonna give me 21.25. And then the mean value, the mean, we are going to take the summation of the product of midpoint and frequency, which is 297.5, and we are going to divide that by the sum of all the frequency, which is 125, and that is going to give me 2.38. We round it to 2 decimal places. So the mean here is 2.38, and this is what we need for the next step to find the variance and the standard deviations. Okay, so the next step after we find the mean, we are going to find the next column, and this next column is the value of the midpoint minus the mean. Alright, so this is the next value of the column that we are looking for. So the midpoint of the first class is 0.5. So we take 0.5 here, we subtract the mean 2.38. 0.5 subtract 2.38, that is going to give me minus 1.88. And we take 1.5, we subtract 2.38 for the second class. This also give me minus 0.88. And then I take the next one, 2.5 minus 2.38, and it's give me 0.12. And then I keep doing the same thing to the next row, give me 1.12, and then 2.12, and also the last one 3.12. So 5.5 subtract 2.33, the mean give me 3.12. Again, the number of the article, this column is also called the frequency. And then the last column we are going to find here before we can find the variance or standard deviation is that we are going to take this column, the midpoint minus the mean. So we are taking this previous column we just found, we take the power of 2 square, and then we multiply this to the frequency, which is this value here. So frequency, okay, so we take the value of the midpoint minus the mean. In this case it is minus 1.88. we square that, and then we multiply to the frequency of this same row, same class here, it is 44. So we square that, we multiply 44, we get 155.5136. And then doing the same thing here, we take this column, the value of this column, 0.88, and then we square that, we multiply to the frequency, which is 16, and that is giving me 12.3904. And then I'm doing the same thing to this one as well. I take 0.12, I square it, and then I multiply back to the 18, the frequency, and it gives me 0.2592. And then if I keep doing the same thing here, I get for this column, this row, the 20 and 112 here, I get 25.088. And then the same thing to the next one, I get 53.9328, and then the last one is 146.016. So this is the last column that we are going to need before we can perform all the calculations. Now the last thing is we need to take the summation. This is the summation of all the value of this column, the last column. So we take 155.5136, we add to 12.3904, we add to 0.2592, and we add all the way down to 146.016. We are getting the summation of 393.2. And now we can get to the step of finding the variance of this frequency distribution table. We get the final value of the summation of this column here, 393.2, and we divide that to the summation of the frequency. Before we also found the summation of this frequency, 44 at 12, 16 at 18, all the way to 15. We got earlier 125. So we take this last column, we divide back to the summation of all the frequency, which is 125. And that is going to give me the value of 3.15. So the variance or sigma square equal 3.15. And once you get the variance, you can get the standard deviation. Is also very simple. The standard deviations, that is just the square root of the variance, or the square root of sigma square, or the square root of 3.15, or that is going to be 1.77. And this is the standard deviation of this frequency distribution table. Another thing that I want to mention here is we consider this data to be a population. So when you divide by the sum of the frequency, we are dividing by 125. Now, if we consider this one to be a sample, not the population, then for the variance right here, we are dividing not 125, but 125 subtract 1, if this one is the sample and not the population. But in this case, this is the population, so we do not subtract 1 here. If you subtract 1 here, then your standard deviation is also changing to another different values.